you can make scalable ad creative more easily by just manipulating these two things. What's up, marketers? I was giving a presentation recently in Austin, Texas, all about meta ad creatives, and everyone took out their phone and snapped a picture of this slide, which is all about how to make scalable ad creative. So maybe you launched an ad creative and results were good for a few days and then they fell off a cliff. Or maybe every time you go to scale your budget on a top performer, it stops performing as well. If this is happening to you, then you need to learn how to make more scalable ad creative. So let's go back to that slide, right? I actually went over this in a recent video on how to make scalable ad creative, and so many of you requested that I give more examples and breakdowns, so that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this video. The way that you can think about making more scalable ad creative is you really have two levers to pull, either your messaging or the format. Some formats are going to inherently lend themselves to certain parts of the marketing journey. And us versus them is going to do a much better job at converting people who are already solution aware and comparing you to other products or brands, while testimonials are best at converting people that already have an idea of who you are and what you do and the pain points that you solve, and they're honestly just really looking to know why you should be the product or brand they should go with. Now, a big disclaimer that I have here is you need to think about this like a spectrum. There is absolutely some gray area here, and not every single ad is going to fit in perfectly into one of these 5 sections. It's also really not a good idea to begin a creative strategy from the awareness perspective, but more on that towards the end. Let's first dive into the ad example breakdowns. Let's start at most aware. Users here are going to be familiar with your product, your brand positioning, and ultimately how you stack up against the competition. These are people that are most likely to convert. However, they aren't as scalable on a cold audience. So any of your ad creative that focuses on your brand names or your product names, this is likely going to fall under this category. Offers and any additional information to get the low-hanging fruit to convert is going to fall under this category. This Dr. Squatch ad is a really great example. It's pretty much just putting the offer front and center. And this Naked and Thriving ad is falling under the most aware category because of the messaging. It's highlighting that offer front and center and not really saying much else about the product. Next up is product aware. So here users are going to be aware of their problems and potential solutions, and maybe are just getting introduced to your specific product. They are also beginning to understand how you might compare in the marketplace. Some ad formats that I often find underneath this category are going to be 3 reasons why you should try X brand or X product, and even testimonials. The ultimate premium tongue scraper ad is the one that comes to mind here that definitely falls under that product aware category. I don't think that this is a very good ad for many reasons, but this is definitely something that we would see in this category. This Loops 1-2 is more in the product aware stage, right? They're saying, hey, here's why you need to try our new and improved earplugs. They're not really doing the hard sell inside of that headline, right? But they do have a lot of supporting benefits and features around, which again makes this more of a gray area ad. But this is definitely going to speak more to the people who are already aware of the product and the benefits of it. And this is an ad that I think falls into the gray area of most aware and product aware. We're really highlighting the actual product, but I think the headline is something that's only going to be really impressive to people who not only know the product, but also the brand, and they need that little bit of extra push over to the conversion line, which is why I actually want to show this ad right after, which is the Holy Grail eye masks. Now, I actually think this is one that is slightly more solution aware and going up the funnel when compared to the one previous to it, right? And all we're doing here is changing up the messaging and format a bit. We're highlighting the products front and center. We're showing some of the problems that people might be experiencing here, but I think that headline is still saying, hey, this is a Holy Grail eye mask. This is something that is likely to reach out to someone who is looking for an eye mask instead of other solutions, right? Next, we have an ad from the Absorption Company. Now, this is an ad that's pretty similar to an us versus them. So the people that are inherently going to be targeted by this are people that are already looking for hydration salts. results. So again, we're targeting more of that solution-aware and problem-aware individual, which is why I think this SEO system is kind of interesting, because I think this one actually goes further up funnel, right? We have this Kind Patches ad, which shows the old me who was using pills to try and cure themselves of this ailment. And then the new way, which are these patches. So this is inherently going to target someone that is definitely problem-aware and maybe solution-aware, but you can see how it's more on the spectrum of being a little bit further up funnel than the previous us versus them ad. And then next up, we have problem-aware. I have tons of great examples for you guys in this section. And I also think that this is the section where I end up finding the most creative winners. Now, this first one right here was actually a split test that was done with one of more of our product-aware ones, right? But if we put them up side by side, we can see how one is going to inherently target an audience that isn't as scalable, right? This one that's more problem-aware is actually targeting people who maybe weren't thinking about using earplugs to get over this issue. They just know, oh, I have sensitive ears. And this is also doing a little bit of persona marketing, right? We're targeting someone who we know is a little bit more sensitive. And yeah, maybe they are looking out for earplugs, but I'd say that this one is really targeting, including all the benefits and features around it, an audience that, again, is more problem aware as opposed to specifically product aware. Also, I love this ad by Waterboy, right? At the very beginning, first thing, so you're hungover. It's very clearly problem aware. This is also another great example using this text message style ad, and right there front and center, hey, I have this issue. What type of solutions are available for me? This is why if you can get creative winners and problem aware, it's going to be a lot more scalable. It's going to be a little harder to convert. You're definitely going to have to do more work to get those people to trust you enough to convert from a Facebook ad, right? But if you can get creative winners from this problem aware area, you are going to have a better ability to scale these ads. And then we have this one by AG1. Are you starting to see a theme? Sometimes you can even just ask the question, because this is exactly what your customers are asking themselves. Here we have another question, bloated. People know what their problem is and they're just trying to figure out a solution. Actually, like almost all of these were asking questions. That's not a requirement, but it just seems to be the ones that I found, most easily. And number 5, I think, is definitely the hardest to nail, but is ultimately the most scalable. If you're able to convert an unaware audience on an ad creative, that's the one that's going to be most appealing or most interesting to the broadest audience possible, right? The broadest audience possible doesn't know they have a problem. The broadest audience possible doesn't know about the different solutions to those problems or the different products, and certainly not your brand. So the big thing that you have to know for unaware audiences is really hinges on education. And a great tactic that you can use to educate people is also curiosity. Now this ad right here, I think, falls between the unaware and problem-aware audience, right? And how you can know that this is likely going to be more unaware is if you're calling out a specific demographic. Sometimes if you call out 50 plus or 40 plus or busy executives, this is going to call out those people regardless of what your product or services, which is a really great way to get that more unaware audience. Here's a good one by Reg Wallet that I think plays more into that curiosity, right? Wallets are weird. Why are they weird? You kind of want to know because it seems like such an everyday object, right? It's seeding that curiosity that's going to be honestly appealing to a much wider audience because nearly everyone has one, so why are they weird? And here's a great example of education, right? 10 signs that your kids need magnesium. So a potential user might see this, and if they have children, they might think, why would they need magnesium, right? And they start going down the list of these different ailments or issues, and they start to realize, oh wow, I think my child might have this because this is such a big list, and they might be interested at that point to learn more. Now, of course, there are some ads that are going to be really ambiguous. I hope I showed you that, this is more of a spectrum, right? But some, you're going to look at them and be like, oh, is it product aware or is it unaware? It's really hard to tell. Like this ad by Brieflio. It's a testimonial ad, right? And it says, I quit smoking after 40 years, which is really incredible. But then we see this device, which I certainly hadn't ever seen before. I actually think that even though this is a testimonial and someone might know that they have a problem they want want to quit smoking. I think there's also a big curiosity factor here going on with the visual that makes people stop and wonder, what is that and how is that getting people to stop smoking? Another ambiguous one right here from True Classic is the #1 shirt for guys who lift. So here again, we have more of that persona marketing, right? Sure, these type of people might be looking for t-shirts, but it's also a little bit more of an aspirational play, right? They see that and they're like, oh, I lift sometimes, I must need to buy this shirt. So they go after and look at it. I'd argue that that could be product aware, potentially. It's absolutely product aware because everyone's aware of t-shirts, but I also think that it's a little bit more unaware because this is likely going to be catching people who didn't even really know that they wanted to buy a t-shirt. Same thing for this Dr. Squatch ad. This deodorant is going to make you 10 times more attractive. I think too, when thinking about your ad creative, again, I urge you to not begin from the what type of awareness level do we want to attract? Do we need to have different creatives for different awareness levels? No, I actually would say that starting off with trying to figure out what your customer really desires and who they desire it from and who they want to be and what their wants and dreams are, that's actually going to produce you a lot better creative than thinking about the arbitrary awareness level, because they don't even know what the awareness level is, right? But I do think this exercise is incredibly useful in retrospect. And also, if you start to see, oh, actually a majority of our creative is probably targeting people further down funnel, how can you then change your messaging and your formats to appeal to that much wider group? So yes, my big disclaimer, let's underscore this. It is a bad strategy to begin your creative strategy with awareness levels. People are not motivated by their awareness. They are motivated by other things like their desires, their problems. I find this exercise way more useful in retrospect when analyzing creatives and also making a really conscious effort if I realize, hey, actually we have a ton of creative recently that is going more further down funnel. How can we expand that and go further up funnel to get some of those audiences that are more problem aware or unaware even, so that we have more of that scale potential. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching my video, guys. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments. Bye.